Okay, let's grab our seats. It is officially 8:30 p.m. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to you. Important announcement, December 9th. We have a workshop going on here. Peter M. is coming up from Florida. Marion's coming up from Florida. Jimmy A. is coming from New Jersey. Sarah, I would, all day, all 12 steps. It'll start 9 a.m. here. It'll go till 9:30 at night. It's absolutely free. We'll provide you with free lunch. It's life-changing to be in one of those workshops and be around those people all day long that are just focused on AA and recovery. So see us afterwards. It's posted in our Facebook group. It'll be announced at every meeting here, and it's a good way to stay connected. And with that, we have the world's best chairperson. Let's give Nick a warm welcome.
Good evening. My name's Nick. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome home. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting. It meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m., followed by our speaker at 8:30. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Yes, sir.
Travis, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Travis, welcome. Hey, Alex, welcome. Yes, sir.
Hey, Matt, alcoholic.
Hey, Matt, welcome. Hi, Jen, welcome. Okay, and welcome to everyone. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Okay, are there any announcements for the good of AA? I do have one announcement. Next week at the Stepping Stones, the 27th and 28th, there is a workshop. I have the flyer on my phone if anyone is interested. Friday night at 5 o'clock and Saturday at 6. They go through all 12 steps. Our sister group is a big book study meeting that meets every Thursday at 7:30 just up the street at the Salem UCC Church. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big books and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD Donations. All CDs are available free of charge. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there, join our Facebook page to keep informed, and share upcoming events and meetings. And now with that, we have Daryl to come up and read the Just for Today Prayer of Recovery.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl. I'm an alcoholic. Just for today, prayer of recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, talk low, act courteously, criticize not one bit, not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. And that's the Just for Today of Alcoholics Anonymous. And Jay is coming up to read the preamble.
I just have to find it. Okay. The AA preamble. My name is Jay. I'm an alcoholic. Okay. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And now Andrew is going to come up and read the 12 steps of recovery.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew, and I'm an alcoholic. And these are the 12 steps of recovery. Number 1, we admitted we are powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Now, bringing it back to Nick.
The 7 tradition. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. This time we'd like to pass the baskets. We have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses. And this group provides many services, and your donations cover food, rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops. Just a quick announcement, we do have our CCSG swag available. We have sweatshirts, and they are free with a $20 donation. Okay, there's absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and try to limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. Now to introduce our speaker, a good friend of the Conscious Contacts group, we have Shu K from Liberia.
Good evening, I'm an alcoholic and my name is Shu. Not Sue, Shu. Sober today by the grace of God and with the help of the fellowship. And before I start, if you're whatever faith or denomination you're a part of, I would like us to just observe a moment of silence, remembering all of those that are caught up in the crisis around the world, especially in the Middle East. Amen. I would like to thank the Conscious Contact Group for once again affording me an opportunity to be an active participant in my recovery. You know, Ron is a mentor, a friend, and he has the knack for just grabbing me, and I appreciate that. You know, yesterday I had no thoughts as to what I was doing on a Saturday night. Probably I was going to be indulging in watching college football that I had no interest in, or maybe watching the Phillies. But I'm glad that he extended that hand to me, which allows me the opportunity to get outside of myself, to be of maximum service to God and to my peers and to AA. Because all that I am today and all that I ever will be is by the grace of God. And God was able to use Alcoholics Anonymous as that archway that brought me to where I'm at today in my life. And life is good. Life is good. The last time I had the opportunity to be here was, what, 7 years ago? Yeah, it's been a while. And this is where it all started for me. I shared with my friend in the car that this is where it all started. And I'm so glad that I have the opportunity, the privilege to go full circle and come back home. This place, this meeting will always hold a special place in my heart, and I'm forever grateful to every individual that is a part of this home group and everybody that go above and beyond to make this possible week after week after week. You won't understand the impact of what you guys do here, but that ripple effect goes far beyond what you would ever imagine. And I know that for a fact because I've experienced it. I experienced it. So I was asked to come here and share my experience, strength, and hope. The first time I had the privilege to be here, I gave a historical account of my life. Because in my mind, that was all I knew. That was all I knew. But having gone through the motion and having endured life and experienced the benefits associated with life by reason of being an active participant in my recovery and a member of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, I understand today that my story should disclose in a general way what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. So even though I'm going to include historical details in my message tonight, I'm hoping that my objective or what we gain from being here tonight will be able to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous, which was given to me through the 12 steps. I was born and raised in Liberia, West Africa, to a fairly normal family. And I had an exciting childhood. At the age of 5, I lost my father as a direct result of the war. My father was, he decided to change his career, and he came to the United States. He was fortunate to get a Fulbright scholarship, and he moved to the United States to pursue his education in medicine. And the war started in December of 1989, and he decided to go back home to get his family to safety. And when he went back home, he got caught up in the war. And on the 6th of July, 1990, my father was asked to present identification. We got to a government checkpoint. I had an older brother that was 14 years older than me. He carried me, the area we lived came under attack. And my brother carried me on his shoulder. And he would walk ahead of the family, and he would stop and wait for the family to catch up. We passed the checkpoint. When my parents got to the checkpoint, they asked my father for identification, and he produced a New York State ID. The government soldiers at the time believed that the war was being supported by Liberians that were living in the United States. So they decided to set an example of my father. My father was beheaded, and on that day I got separated from my mom and the rest of my siblings. The reason why I say that today is because when I pull up in this parking lot tonight, I sat in the car for about five to 7 minutes, trying to compose myself and gather my thoughts. I saw multiples of individuals walk and enter this building. I did not see not one person stop at the entrance to check out the foundation of this structure. I don't think anyone in here tonight stopped and wondered if the foundation of this building is strong enough to support our weight. We all entered into this building on blind faith that the architects and engineers that constructed this building knew what they were doing. So we trust their judgment and their expertise, so we just came in the building. So I referenced the beginning of my life because that was the foundational stage of my life prior to Alcoholics Anonymous. The loss of my father, me being raised by my older brother, me becoming a child soldier at the age of 8 years old, and actively participating in a civil war for 14 years, built a foundation for what I thought was the life I was living. I wasn't really living, I was existing. You see, during those formative years, I developed perception, I developed perspective, I developed ideologies and concepts that I was going to live by till death. See, my father was taken away from me, so I had the sole purpose to take as many fathers from their kids as possible. My father was taken from me by authority. So any and everybody that represented any kind of authority, you were immediately my enemy. So I grew up, I tried to build this life on that shaky foundation. And I was in no way, shape, or form concerned with the consequences that were associated with my actions. I was resigned that that was the hand I was dealt, and I was going to play that hand to the best of my ability. See, I'm not one of the cats, the preamble was read. I'm not one of the guys that came here because I had the desire to stop drinking. I was sentenced to Alcoholics Anonymous. Every time I drive into Doylestown, I laugh and I remember the day like it was yesterday. So that foundation of mayhem, of chaos, led me to become very good at what I did. But one of the reasons why I was able to operate as effectively in that capacity as I was because I had a very close friend, lover, mentor, inspiration, and that was alcohol. See, there were days when my brother did not have food to feed me as a kid, and he provided me with moonshine. And that allowed me to fall asleep, or better yet, pass out. And we woke up the next day and we went through the motions again. We were trained to live every day like it was our last day. I had no hope for tomorrow. I didn't have any ambitions. I didn't have any plans. I was just going through the motion. It was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. When was going to be my time? And the crazy thing about it is that I was hell-bent on sending as many people ahead of me. That way, when my time comes, I have people to talk to as I'm on my way to meet my maker. Now, if that's not a shitty way to live, I don't know what else. But you see, today I can look back at those days and see how shitty it was. But in reality, at that time, that was my truth. That was my truth. It's crazy, right? In the doctor's opinion, it tells me that I get to that place in my life where I cannot differentiate the truth from the false. And that followed me a long time. It followed me throughout my life. I was fortunate to get reunited with my mom. In Alcoholics Anonymous, when they tell you to share your story, they talk about experience, strength, and hope. For me, it was the mercy, grace, and favor of God that ushered me in, and it still carried me through. There are so many people that Ron could have called yesterday to ask to be here. Why did he choose me? I will never know the answer to that. But because I got that phone call, I was able to have something to look forward to be here today. What if I had not gotten that phone call? There are so many options as it relates to life, so many choices, so many decisions I could have made between the time I received that phone call and now. Maybe the decision I would have made would have been devastating. I don't know, but I'm grateful that I have people in my life today, I call them my construction crew, that are able to be there and mentor me, even when we don't see each other on a daily basis. I got people that even if I go on social media and I post something obscene, they will not comment under the thread, but they will hit me up in my inbox and be like, yo, that's not you, pull that down. You know what I mean? And it's a privilege. But anyway, going back to the foundational stages, I lost my older brother as a direct result of my disobedience. That comes with me and my alcohol and the other substance consumption. I disobeyed. That's who I am. Or better yet, let me paraphrase that. That's who I was. So I got reunited with my mom. It was a regular day. I had this girlfriend that told me her uncle was visiting from the States. Now, because of the lifestyle I was living, I was not accepted, I was not allowed to these people's home. But this day, when this girl told me that her uncle was visiting from the States, I had to be there. I don't know about you, but you see, I'm an alcoholic and I have trust issues. So I couldn't allow this lady to go see her uncle without me being physically present, because what if her uncle gave her $20? She's gonna come back to me and say she got 10. I had to be there to police the whole transaction to make sure everything was in place. Or so I thought. But little did I know that that was God's hand working in my life. I had never seen this uncle before. I never knew him, anything about him. So I got there, and the miraculous thing is that they allowed me to stay. I wasn't asked to leave. So I'm standing there, and this man and his brother, they're going back and forth through conversation. And the conversation, some way, somehow, went to parents or families that got separated as a result of the war. Now, before my brother was killed, my brother told me stories about my family. So even though I was 5 years old and I did not have a real vivid memory of my family, I remembered what my brother had shared with me. So I knew my mother's name. I knew some basic tidbits of family history that my brother shared with me. So I'm sitting there, and this guy is talking about a co-worker he had at the Kmart warehouse in Fairless Hills. And he's talking about this co-worker that got separated from her sons. And some way, somehow, I believed that this person he was talking about was my mother. And I interrupted him and said, I'm not dead, my brother is dead, but I'm alive. And he asked me, he said, no, the lady said her sons are dead. And he asked me, he said, what is your name? See, now, at some point in the conversation between my mom and this co-worker, she had mentioned my name. Because my name is not this popular name. My mother had kids, my father had kids, my mom and dad met and they had me. But when my father had kids, his first set of children were twin, fraternal twin, a girl and a boy. And the girl came first. So in our tradition, my brother was not considered a full man. So he could not assume the family seat. So when I was born, they told my father, oh, you got a man, not Shulangadi. So my father named me Man, Shulong. All my friends call me Shu for short. So when I mentioned my name, this man, because he had heard my name from my mother. So he said, hold up, wait. And he walked into the bedroom and he grabbed his cell phone. And he said, I don't know if she's going to answer, because at this time, usually she's at work and she does not have a cell phone. This was in 1999. My mom did not own a cell phone. He said, I don't know if she's going to answer because she's always at work. My mom is a workaholic, right? So he made a call. Now, I found out years later that that particular morning, my mom got up and did not feel like going to work. So she called out. And she decided to use her time that day to do laundry. At the time, she was living in the Liberia Trace apartment complex. And if you know anything about Liberia Trace, they don't have washer and dryers in the apartment complex. So my mom used to go to the Pathmark in the back of the apartment complex to do her laundry. So she woke up that morning, grabbed a basket of laundry, put it in the car, and went back upstairs and fell asleep on the couch right next to the house phone. And this man called. My mom answered, and he said to her, you will never believe who I'm talking to. And she said, who? He said, your son. And she said, James, stop playing, my sons are dead. He said, no, I'm looking at your son right now. And he handed me the phone. I didn't know what to say. I was talking to a complete stranger. But I remember quite clearly my mom asked me, do you want me to support you while you're in Liberia, or do you want me to bring you to the States? Now that's a no-brainer. America for us is the last stop. From America is heaven. Everybody in Liberia wants to come to America. I swear, if Liberia was as close to America as Mexico or Cuba or whatever country up here, it will be empty because we'll all be up in here. So it was a no-brainer for me. I wanted to come to America, and I chose coming to America, right? So my mom said, okay. And then she said to her co-worker, she said, James, do you have any money on you? He said, yes. She said to him, whatever you have on you, give it to my son. And I will run to the bank right now, and I will send you, whatever you give him, I will send it back to you via Western Union right now. So my girlfriend that went to get money from her uncle, she did not get anything. I got all the money, right? But anyway, that was in 1999, November of 1999, and I arrived in the United States of America September 29 of 2003. Prior to my arrival, everybody that knew me tried to reach out to my mom to warn her not to bring me into this country. And they told her the list of things that I would put her through if she brought me to America. And she said to them, that's my son. I'd rather he come here and bring problems to me than for him to be over there and you guys complain about him to me on a daily basis. So she did what any loving mother would do for her baby. She brought me here. But what my mom did not realize was that in her mind, she was bringing to the States her baby. But in reality, she brought into her life a devil. Because that's what I was. I arrived in this country September 29 of 2003. I got my first DUI January 1st of 2004. Within the first 6 months of my living in the United States of America, my mom visited every municipal courtroom in Bucks County, Philadelphia County, Mercer County, Montgomery County, Delaware County. Because everywhere I went, I took me with me. I was involved in a lot of underage drinking, fights, you name it, I did it. And every time this lady would be there for me and she would bail me out. She would take me out and I would go right back to doing the same thing. See, I didn't see any problem with it because I was playing catch up. See, all the cats that I was running with, I had the opportunity to live in the United States and enjoy the benefits of being in the States. So I was playing catch up. I had to catch up. I had to make, you know what I mean? There was so much I needed to do in so little time. When I got to the States, it was around the time where this Bloods and Crips situation, this gang thing was very prominent within the Trenton and Newark, New Jersey areas. And my mom and I live in Bristol. Trenton is like a walk away. So I started to hang out in Trenton. Now you see the gang life provided me everything I needed. It had drugs, alcohol, a great deal of promiscuity, and lawlessness. And you see, I thrived in that environment because that was all I knew. So I started to run with sex, money, murder in West Trenton, corner of Stuyvesant and Huffman. That was my block. And then it's crazy, right? When I came to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, and a sober member of this fellowship decided to help me help myself by taking me through the 12 steps, I had the audacity to tell that man that I didn't need step 2 because I was not insane. But here you have a guy that came into the United States of America that was not born here, but I was looking at natural born citizens of the United States and telling them they could not hustle on a corner because it was mine. And I believed that. And if you were to hustle on that corner and I found out we had a problem. See, I'm one of the cats that gave Trenton a bad name, and I'm not proud of that today. That's why today it's part of my living amends to go back into that community and be an example that others will know that yes, you can get out of this lifestyle. Alcoholics Anonymous have afforded me the opportunity today where I get to go to schools. And I don't talk to the kids in the auditorium, you know what I mean? I deal with the ones that are in detention because they don't want to be there. They all want to be someplace else. And then I go there and then we have a little talk. But it's a blessing I'm able to do that today. So I was living that life. And I was resigned to live that life, right? I had no desire. I had no ambitions. I had no goals. I came in this country, every opportunity that is provided, a natural born citizen was offered to me. I was given financial aid. I was given student loans. I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia because I like to draw. But rather than stay in school, I'd rather tag dumpsters in the alleyways in Philly and do what real alcoholics do. You know what I mean? Get trashed, fall asleep in Suburban Station and miss my train. Just the cool, normal stuff. You know what I mean? Fight with cops because I want to see what it made of. See, I didn't like myself. I didn't like the life I was living, but I was not man enough to admit it or do something about it because I did not think there was an alternative. I did not know there was an alternative. When I got my first DUI in January of 2004, I was sent to AA. I was given ARD, and I was sent to AA. Unfortunately for me, at the time, I went to the 12 Keys. And I walked into there, and immediately I knew that was not where I was supposed to be. I was not that bad. So I left and never went back. But I'm glad I had the opportunity because it tells me that the only thing I have to share with a newcomer is my experience. So I had to go back. There's something we say, there's a little card I saw at the Keys one time that said, God is still writing your story. Stop trying to steal the pen. See, that was what I was doing all the time. I was trying to take the pen out of the hands of God. God was writing this unique, beautiful story called my life, and I did not know that. But because the foundation that I previously established for the life that I had was so shaky and unstable, and the ingredients were all nonsense, eventually that foundation crumbled. And for me, that crumble happened on March 10th of 2013. A beautiful Sunday. It was the finals of the Copa del Rey. Real Madrid played Barcelona. Barcelona won. And I don't know why. I've never been to Barcelona. I don't know nobody from that city. But I just hate the soccer team. And because Barcelona won, I was mad. But what I didn't realize was that entire weekend, all the alcohol that we had consumed that weekend, my best friend has sold my only prized possession. Somewhere between 2003 and 2013, I had gotten married. I had 2 sons. You know, I got kicked out. I got locked up. I could go through the whole spiel. But I built a record. I built a resume for myself of total chaos, total nonsense. So on that Sunday, God decided to intervene in my life. But I must make clear, on the 2nd of November 2012, I got my second DUI. See how smart I was? I got my first DUI January 1st, 2004. I wasn't able to get another one until November 2nd of 2012. I really used to pat myself on the back for that because I'm a good alcoholic, right? I was able to put that much time between. The only reason why I didn't get any in between was because of purely the grace of God. I should have gotten way worse. But God allowed me to go through the motions. And when it was His perfect time, He intervened in my life. So that Sunday, I got in an altercation with my best friend. And he lovingly stabbed me 5 times, 3 times in my chest and twice in my arm, and left me for dead. That was on the corner of Prospect and not Rutherford, but Jarvis Place in Trenton, New Jersey. I was taken to a hospital. I was handcuffed to the hospital bed because they assumed that it was gang related. When I came out of the hospital, I had to go to court for my DUI from November 2nd. When I went to court, my son was 5 years old at the time. He begged the judge to not send me away. I found that out later. And fortunately for me, I was extended the olive branch. I was placed on house arrest, and I was told to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. See, when I came to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, I did not want to be here. I could not relate to none of y'all. The meeting I was going to was a speaker discussion meeting. It was at Taffet Maple, at the Methodist Church at Taffet Maple. And what's crazy is that it was on a Saturday at 6 p.m. And I don't know whether it was my luck or whatever God had in plan. God has a sense of humor. Every speaker that went to that meeting when I started going there was either Irish Catholic And one thing they said when they were sharing, they said, thank God I didn't kill no one. See, I couldn't relate to being an Irish Catholic, nor could I relate to whether I took a life. Because for years and years, when I pulled the trigger, I never knew who was on the other side of the barrel of my gun, nor did I care. So immediately hearing those two things kind of like put a wedge between me and the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I was only showing up because I did not have a choice, or so I thought. I was court mandated to give me that piece of paper that I had to get signed in order for me. I used to tell my first sponsor, I said, I just want my life back. I just want my life back. One good thing about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, the construction crew that God put in place to help me build a foundation, build a new foundation. In the doctor's opinion, they said the only thing we need to recreate our life is to follow a few simple rules. Now you're talking to a guy that did not respect authority or never followed rules in his life. Now you're telling me I got to come in here and follow rules? I would have loved it if you had told me it was suggestions. That way I could pick and choose whether I wanted to do it or not. But when it were rules, I had no alternative. See, the reason why I got to that place in my life where is because in the Living Sober book, it says a statement by the American Medical Association. It said an alcoholic can learn to control the disease, but can never fully recover and go back to drinking without adverse consequences. See, it's the adverse consequences that I was afraid of. Because when I came to the judge that placed me on house arrest, he not only gave me that opportunity, what he did for me was what I could not do for myself. He told me if I ever showed up in his courtroom, he was going to use everything within his power to make sure I was deported. You see, I didn't mind going to jail or prison or whatever you call it. That was paid vacation for me. When you guys locked me up, you fed me 3 times a day. If I had a toothache, you would pull my tooth. You took care of me when I was locked up. You took care of the temperature. When it's cold outside, it was warm inside. When it's warm outside, it was cool inside. I didn't have no care in the world. I tried well in jail. I could survive that. I could go there continuously. I could spend a lifetime there. It was cool. They had TV in the place. But when you told me, when this judge told me that he was going to ensure that I was going to be deported, that drew my attention. Because I did not want to go back to the hell that I came from. What I did not understand was that the choices I was making, even in the United States, I was not only creating hell for myself, but I was creating hell for everybody around me that loved me, even my 5-year-old child. But the crazy thing about it is that I did not care. But when this consequence directly affected me, now it drew my attention. So I went to Alcoholics Anonymous with the hope that I was just going to go through the motions, get off the books, and get my life back. See, that's where the attraction came in. See, I could not relate to your stories. I could not relate to the personalities that were giving the stories. But there were events and circumstances that you talked about when you were sharing your story that caught my attention. You have people come in and talk about how they were homeless, they lost their family, they lost everything, right? Now I'm materialistic, right? So I'm looking at these guys, not believing a word they say. Because in my mind, this was just show and tell. Or you think you're bad, I'm going to show you I was badder than you. I tell you the stories were meant to top the other. If you share this one, the next week I look for something more dramatic. But at the end of these meetings, I watched these people. I looked at them getting Corvettes. I see some of them mount Harley Davidsons. Some of them getting Ford F-150s and drive off. See, I didn't want the recovery I didn't want the sobriety. I didn't want none of those the super spiritual stuff. Yeah, you walk on water, that's all good and dandy for you. But how can I get that Corvette? Or what can I do to pull out from here in a Harley? You know what I mean? That was what attracted my attention. And I'm glad for that, because this is a program of attraction and not promotion. So God met me at a place in my life. So when I came into fellowship and I was going through the motions, lovingly people started to trickle and try to tear down the wall. There was these guys that saw through my facade. I came in here, I always mad, so I don't talk to you. I always kept a toothpick in my mouth. I always had something to chew on. If I did share, I try to debunk everything that AA had to say, because it would work for you, but not for me. See, this is all gimmick. I don't believe not one word you're saying. This is not going to work for me. And the one thing that was told to me week after week after week that pissed me off, keep coming back. That bothered me. It bothered me. Because I knew when you told me that, keep coming back, you meant it. You wanted me to come back. You were sincere. So I started to, I had no choice. I was court stipulated to come back week after week. And then I finally got off house arrest. I remember it was a Monday in July. And I'm walking, I used to live on Pennsylvania Avenue, off of Pennsylvania Avenue, Harrison Ave. And I'm walking that evening and I get to where the Robert Morris statue is at. And I stood at that traffic light. If I was to go right, I was going to end up on the Trenton Make the World Take Bridge. If I go left, there was good friends. I don't know why. Till today, I cannot tell you why. I went left. And I ended up at Good Friends. And I met my first sponsor. He was 83 years old. And he took me under his wing. He adopted me. I remember when I asked this man to be my sponsor, he told me, he said, I'm not going to promise you that all your problems will be solved. He said, but I promise you one thing. If you give the program of recovery a chance, you're going to have the opportunity to take advantage of opportunities. And boy, have he been right. When I got sober, I was unemployable. Walmart in Doylestown refused to offer me a job that was going to pay me $7.90 an hour because of my background. I called Alcoholics Anonymous. I called the men. I called them my construction crew. These guys that were tirelessly helping me build a foundation for a life that I did not even know. And this construction crew, I called one of them, Cadillac Ed, and he picked me up. He took me to U-Haul. I got a job at U-Haul. In the fellowship, you guys taught me the importance of showing up. And I kept going to work every day. I hated it, but I kept going to work every day. And then while I was there, I had a commitment to make coffee at the Now Group in Washington's Crossing. And I remember, I told my sponsor I had a commitment for June 2017. And I told my sponsor I'm not going to go to make coffee this month because, you know, I'm going through a financial crisis, you know what I mean? I can't afford gas. And my sponsor said to me, yeah, that makes sense. He said, but you realize they've already given you the key to the church. He said, how about you do this? How about you go there the first Thursday of the month, make the coffee, and then when home group members come for the meeting, you explain to them why you can't continue with the commitment for the month. Now that made so much sense. So I showed up that Thursday and I was making the coffee. And a guy that had never been to that meeting before and never been to that meeting since showed up that day. He assumed that the meeting started at 7. So I had this man all to myself for almost an hour. And he made a fatal mistake. He asked me, so young man, how you doing? And I opened the floodgates. And I started to tell him what a shitty organization I worked for, how bad things were, and I gave him the whole spiel. And like a good member of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, that man listened. He listened. And after I got done spewing all my garbage, he reached into his wallet and he handed me his business card. And he said to me, "This is where I work. Give me a call. You can come and see my facility. And if you're interested, I can offer you a job." I visited that facility on July 14 of 2017, and I started work there on the 31st of July 2017. That man trained me to become a maintenance mechanic. I worked for him for 3 years. After 3 years of showing up day after day, that man told me, he said, "You know what? You're not going anywhere with me financially. And I believe that I have taught you enough that you can go out on your own. So put your resume out there and see if you can get a job." And this is all because of God and Alcoholics Anonymous. This man was a sober member of the fellowship. So I listened to what he told me, and I did. And for the last almost 3 years, I've worked as a maintenance mechanic at Liberia Coca-Cola. I just resigned from there yesterday in good standing, where my bosses told me if I ever want to go back, I should feel free. I'm just a phone call away from getting my job back. And because of God and Alcoholics Anonymous today, I can explore, I can chase my dreams. And on the 30th of October, I'm going to be starting a new career as an over-the-road trucker. And I'm going to be having the privilege of going to AA meetings all over the United States of America. I'm excited for that opportunity. But you see, none of this was going to be possible had I not done these steps. I went through these steps, and I hear this all the time. People say, "Oh, what step you're working? Oh, I got to work the steps." For me, it's the principles. On a daily basis, I have to apply the principle of honesty. See, honesty for me is not truth. It's not me telling you the truth. Because remember, I'm an alcoholic, and there are days, even stone cold sober, I cannot differentiate the truth from the false. So based on my perspective at any given day, my truth can be a lie. And I have to understand that. And that's why I keep coming to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous and dealing with men and women in the program that are able to step on my feelings rather than step on my grave. I have to practice the principle of honesty. Honesty for me is adhering to the facts. What are the facts? For me, to drink is to die. For me, one is never enough. For me, I'm an alcoholic true and true. If I don't follow through, if I don't give my life, if I don't surrender my will to a power greater than myself on a daily basis, I get to enjoy the promise associated with step one. I die. In our literature, it says you're doomed. Step two, I come to believe I get the opportunity to experience and to practice the principle of hope. You guys have given me a reason to hope. When I came in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous early on, it was hold on, pain ends. And then I started to continue day after day after day, and it changed. Help other people every day. Because I have hope today, I'm able to practice the spiritual principle of faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. On our coin, there's an inscription on the coin, "To thy own self be true." That is the first part of a famous quotation by William Shakespeare. To thy own self be true, and it must follow as the night followeth the day. What is that it? There you go. You see, the truth of the matter is that it for me today is that 5-year-old boy. He's 16 today. When I'm walking out of the house, even if he's in his bedroom in the middle of a game, he runs downstairs to make sure he tells me, "Love you, Dad." My mom, who I practically destroyed, My mom had a situation at work where she had to be forcibly retired without an income. My mom lives with me today. I get to take care of my mom. I get to experience the love of a mother on a daily basis, things that I never appreciated. I get to be a tax-paying member of society. I get to stop at stop signs. And the reason why I always like to put that in there, stop at stop signs, because I know a mother today that lost her child because a drunk driver did not stop at a stop sign. But for the grace of God, that could have been my story. I have courage. After I was able to fearlessly search myself, moral inventory of myself, I developed courage. Courage for me is not the absence of fear. If you think for a second that I'm not afraid to venture into this new journey where I'm going to be in a cab by myself on the highway and stopping at rest stops, I don't know, but I'm definitely afraid. But today, because I have God, I have the foundation, I have the principles, I have courage that I'm going to go through the motions and I'm going to be okay. Because I was able to sit with God, myself, and another human, today I have integrity. When I told my big brother that I was going to be here tonight, I don't think he lost any ounce of sleep wondering if I was going to show up. That's all because of God and AA and His steps. Today I'm a man of integrity. When we used to hang on the street corners, we used to say, oh, my word is my bond. All BS. But today my word is my bond. If I tell you by the grace of God that I'm going to do something, rest assured I'm going to do it because I have integrity. In step 6, the question is asked. He said, are we now ready to have God remove from us all of those things which we admitted were objectionable? Objectionable to what? To me being a decent member of society, to me being a father, to me being a son, to me being a friend. Today I get to practice the spiritual principle of willingness. I get to enjoy being a part of life today, practicing the spiritual principle of humility. So today, you see, I don't think too highly of myself. Neither do I think too low of myself. I'm right-sized. I'm right where I need to be. And because I'm an alcoholic through and through, sometimes I forget. But I'm surrounded by these men and women that love me more than I can love myself. And trust me, they get me down to size real quick. And I'm grateful for that. Discipline was something that was never a part of who I was. I was never disciplined. So today, I try to practice the spiritual principle of discipline. I try to abide by rules. I try to do unto others as I will have them do unto me. I try to have respect. I remember my sponsor, I used to have a problem with the word love. And my sponsor asked me, he said, if you can substitute the word love for any word in the English language, what word would you use? I couldn't find a word appropriate in my mind. And he told me, how about you try the word respect? You see, if I love the United States of America, I'm not going to kneel when the national anthem is being played. If I love having the privilege of driving, I'm going to abide by speed limits to the best of my ability. I'm going to stop at stop signs. I'm going to do everything that is in accordance that will allow me to continue to enjoy those privileges. I love my mother, so I respect my mother. I love my kids. I respect my kids. I love my significant other. I respect those that God has placed in my life. And that's because today I get to practice the spiritual principle of discipline, which ties into the brotherly love concept. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Perseverance. Many days I don't want to take the next step. I don't want to do the next right thing. I don't. There are days where I just want to lay around and do nothing and procrastinate. and wallow in sloth. But that's not who I am today. That's not the spiritual principle. You know, one of the things though, when I was in active addiction, one of the lines that always ran through my head, I am not hurting no one. But you see, today, I don't entertain that thought. I was told early on, I'm not responsible for the thoughts that come in my head, but I'm responsible for the ones that I allow to stay. Because with every thought, every action that I take is a direct result of a thought that came to my head. It's like a seed. If I'm a farmer and I want to harvest cucumbers, I'm not going to spend my time planting corn. You plant corn, you're going to harvest corn. So if I want to benefit, I want to enjoy the good of this world, I have to invest good. What you put in is what you get out. So I have to persevere day after day. I have to keep moving. You know, this is a spiritual principles, but we live in a physical world. And what does the law of motion say? An object at rest stays at rest. And an object in motion stays in motion. It allows me the ability to keep moving forward, moving toward positivity. Every day I strive to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday. And boy, that's hard. Because according to our literature, it tells me I'm driven by 100 forms of fear, self-seeking, self-delusion, and self-pity. And when that happens in my life, what happens? I step on the toes of others, and they retaliate. And this alcoholic don't want you to retaliate. You're supposed to accept everything that I do, but I'm not going to accept what you do. But the spiritual principles allow me, in step 11, to have awareness. Not only am I aware that all my life is based on the presence of a higher power in my life, I'm aware today when I'm making those wrong decisions, when I'm entertaining those wrong thoughts. And then God uniquely places me in a situation where I get outside of myself through the principle of step 12, service. Whenever I prioritize another person more than myself, my life crazy, but my life instantly becomes better. I remember in early sobriety, I used to tell my sponsor I had problems sleeping. And I came up with all the scientific reasons why I couldn't sleep at night. So he suggested to me that I work night shift. Since you can't sleep at night, work at night. Common sense, right? But another thing he suggested to me, he said, if you find yourself having problems sleeping at night, he said, try this. It might work. I don't know. He said, but think about any human on earth that name starts with the letter A. Pray for that person. Find another person that name starts with the letter B. Pray for that person. Find someone with the letter C. He said, I guarantee you, if you do that faithfully, by the time you get to D or E, you'll be fast asleep. He was just trying to train me to get in the habit of placing other people above myself. Because when I do that, God takes care of me. And God places me right where I need to be. I could go on and on. I'm so in love with the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, the program of recovery, the joy, the blessings, the benefits. I could go on and on telling you about how fortunate, how blessed my life has become. Since the 10th of March, 2013, till now, my life is like night and day. I'll tell you something real quick before I close. You see that friend that lovingly stabbed me on March 10th of 2013? He ran away to Oklahoma. And about 4 years into my recovery, he got arrested. And he was brought back to Trenton, New Jersey. And I was invited as a victim to come up with a victim report. I don't know the legal terms for it. But I went there, and because I had a taste of what life is like through the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, by being recovered from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, I was able to advocate on his behalf. Because he had gotten a son. He had gotten involved in a relationship. And he was given PTI, pre-trial intervention. And he was placed on the books. He had to follow certain rules or whatever. But he was allowed to go back to Oklahoma to stay with his family, to be with his family. I kid you not, that man decided to take that lady as his wife. You know who stood next to him in church as his best man? I did. Somebody that was partly responsible, somebody that I wanted to destroy. I was able to stand next to him as his best man at the most important day in his life when he was taking his wife. God and Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, The Psalm of Life. I love that. He said, lives of great men all remind us that we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. See, every one of you in this room here tonight have left that footprint on my sand, on the sand of my time. You guys have impacted my life in a positive way, and I cannot repay you. The mere fact that you allowed me to be of service today is something that I'm forever grateful for. The Conscious Contact Group, I love you, I appreciate you. Ron, thank you for being you, for mentoring me, for loving me. I'm so grateful for people like you, every single one of you. I love you, God bless you.
My name's Nick, I'm an alcoholic. Amen. Let's thank Shu one more time. Just a reminder, food and fellowship always starts at 8 o'clock, so please come early. We could always use help setting up, and if you want to be a 100 member, all are welcome. Let's thank Annette and Deb for the work in the kitchen tonight, for the coffee makers. See, Al-Anon does like us. Okay, it's customary to form a line and thank our speaker. They come here at their own time and expense, so we'll do that up here in the front. And if you care to join us, we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. You guys want to circle up? Circle up.